teachers who are not in districts with programs like DeKalb, who may have either individuals or a small resettlement community, what's the first thing? I mean, maybe you said learning more about the PSYOP model, but, where can they start to understand the unique needs of this student population? Are there any resources or websites or podcasts out there that you might recommend for them?
So far as websites go, like when I was first learning how to teach, I really like Color in Colorado. I don't know if you've heard of
Yes.
that.
Yep.
That's a really great resource. I used things like Lexia and Newsella and things like that because it was really hard, especially if you're a secondary teacher, to
Mm-hmm.
find things that are both relevant but also in multiple levels to differentiate for all the students in my classroom. But as far as learning how to work with those students, because, I have a lot of teachers who come to me, they're just like, I've never worked with English learners before. What do I do? It's understandable because it's a new experience for both the student and the teacher. I think and I know I keep talking about this, but I think it's really important for you to first build relationships with your students and their families. And that could mean going out in the community, going to different events. I just recently went to the graduation of my students who just graduated. I'll go to Ethiopian New Year. I'll go to the Karen New Year. Just going and being present, even if it's just going to your students' basketball games, but building that relationship with them, learning more about them so you can leverage those funds of knowledge that really helps you with teaching them. And then again, I know I already mentioned the PSYOP model, but, ensuring that you're chunking the information in a way that your students can understand and giving them multiple exposures to that language that you want them to learn and what you want them to read. And then, of course, honoring and allowing them to use their L1 is something that's really important. I think sometimes misunderstood.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear more about that last comment you made about the L1 and making sure that we honor that and have them still leverage their strengths in L1. So I'd love to have you talk a little bit more about that. And then also, I loved all those examples of, whether it's going to celebrate a holiday or a basketball game. Can you talk a little bit more too about how you try to engage specifically with the parents? So building the relationship you mentioned with both the student and the family. So maybe we'll start first with kind of engaging with the parents, and then we'll come back to the L1 comment.
Of course, yes. So definitely this is something that, as you probably already know, that researchers talk about a lot is how do we engage our multilingual families, right? It is definitely something that is not very easy. That's why I always say kind of going into the community is the best way for me. At least I've had more success going into the community with meeting the parents and engaging the parents than I have bringing them to the school. Although I have had some come to the school at the younger level, I've definitely had more experience with that. But even just having an event, like when I was at Clarkson, they put on a really great international show, and they have something called the Taste of Clarkson, and the kids make the food and people from the community come. So just having things where, like I was kind of saying, like utilizing their funds of knowledge again, their cooking, their dance, their, everything. And that kind of brings the community to the school, or even allowing, I know I recently had someone in one of my professional learning sessions who was telling me about how she engaged families to come to her school by having an international game night where the families came with games from their culture and taught people how to play the different games that they played.
Oh, I love
And I thought that
that.
was a very unique idea. I think, trying to do things that give the parents an opportunity to also show what they know, because sometimes, as a, as a daughter of an immigrant, I know sometimes, you don't understand school. School might be
Mm-hmm.
different from what it was in your home. Maybe you don't really engage in school, so you don't know how to engage in school. And then, of course, if you don't know English, that creates another barrier. So that would be, if you give them activities to do or give them an opportunity to share, that kind of extends your arm to them. Like, oh, we want to hear from you. You're the expert in this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So important to, again, similar to how we think about the students, we want to leverage their assets, right, and their strengths. And so absolutely in some cultures and countries, school is not a place where parents go, right? It is not something that they interact with. So it's absolutely trying to find the right opportunity for them to feel comfortable and them to feel like the expert at school. So I love the idea of a game night or cooking different types of food. And also, as you've been saying, which is really important to think about, and even more important, working with our students who have been, um, you know, as you said, have experienced trauma, have been resettled in a different country, making sure you get out into their communities.